are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Happy Tuesday. I am Brandon Olsen. You can find me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. I'm also the founder of Whole9Sports.com, where you can find all of my written work. Today, we'll spend the first segment on the whiteboard breaking down 2 Emory Jones plays. Then we'll break down 2 Anthony Richardson plays. And we'll wrap up by breaking down the differences between the 2 quarterbacks and where the Gators go from here, because Lord knows, honestly, at this point. Before we get started, just a quick reminder to follow up on Locked On Gators wherever you listen to podcasts, and be sure to subscribe to Locked On Gators on YouTube, because again, we're working on some video stuff. Sorry, lighting's bad today. I'm out. I tried fixing it as much as I could, waiting for new equipment to come in. But on the bright side, 2 segments today, it'll be whiteboard, so you'll barely even see me. So fun stuff. The NFL season is about to begin, and nobody covers it like the Locked On Podcast Network. August 30th through September 8th, Locked On's Ultimate Season Preview is taking you through every team and every division with the help of Odyssey's Ross Tucker and Jason LaCanfora. Follow the Ultimate Season Preview 2021 feed on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcast, because you're already late. Like, you've already missed a ton of content. Now it's time to catch up. It's as simple as that. And starting off, we're just going to keep in mind here, I'm working on 2 plays for each quarterback. And a big thing for it is that I don't have the all 22 yet, so I can't break down like really in-depth passing plays. But either way, this offense is pretty vanilla at this point, so there's not much to break down, but we're gonna make do with what we can, you know. So yeah, it's 2 plays for each quarterback. First one I'm going to pull up right now. At this first play, it's pretty simple. It's bunch on the right side here, and this one is about, I believe it was with 3 minutes left in the first quarter. You've got Emory Jones is our quarterback here. Malik Davis is next to him. That S over there is Trent Whitmore. And this play is pretty simple, but it's also a good read by Emory Jones, which is why I chose this play. It's an RPO with a bubble screen, which is a pretty simple concept in itself, but pretty much you got Emory Jones reading this end right there. He has running back right here. You know, Malik Davis just goes up there, and it's the zone read. So Emory Jones has to judge on the bubble. Emory Jones has to judge on that end defender there, and he's got to either hand it off, keep it himself, or he can throw it to the slot. And I know here it looks like we've got numbers because we've got wide receivers blocking each of those defensive backs. You've got this wide receiver there. That's just a decoy route at this point. He's just blocking what he can. And Emory hands this ball off. At the first look, it could be, hey, you know, he should throw that little bubble. But when you watch the play itself, yes, the DN stands out, which means QB, hand it off. But what's not so simple about that is, of course, Emory's looking at this right side of the field. So he sees what's going on here. He's not just seeing that end. He's seeing everything in this line of sight. So then you see the safety scream down at Trent Whitmore. So Emory Jones makes the handoff. It's 1st and 10, and it's a gain of 7. So it's a very good read, very good play, sound read, solid play. And it's one of those things where it was probably one of Emory's best reads of the game. I think his next one, personally, was better on the next play that we break down. But it was one of the few bright spots because, of course, this offense struggled mightily, just so mightily. And that was one of the few bright spots that we saw there. And, you know, I mean, for me at least, it was one of the things where it's like, yeah, that's a good play from Emory. That's a solid play. And that's what you would expect to see in an offense that's this vanilla. But at the same time, we expect to see this concept throughout the whole season for our Gators. Like, it's a simple concept. It's a simple play call, simple play design, but it's effective. Of course, you can see here, this is not the first time. It wasn't the last time that we ran this concept, but Malik Davis picked up 7 yards on the run. So it's a positive play there. So I have no qualms with it whatsoever. I think it was a great read by Emory, and he really just, he made the most out of that read at least. This next play that we're looking at is, again, Emory in the backfield. Malik Davis is on the other side. You've got tight end, 2 receivers on the right side, and a receiver on the left side. This one, no RPO, no play action, no rollout. This is a simple drop back. And I mean, I like how it worked out because you're looking at Emory Jones as our quarterback here. You got the running back goes on a swing. You've got this receiver on the left side runs a skinny post. You've got the tight end immediately goes to the flat. This receiver runs a curl. This receiver runs right here. And again, this is one of those things where it's Emory made a pretty good read right off the bat because, I mean, running back is open over here. Running back's open, but he's got a defender coming down, but he can get a completion, get a short gain. It's a good play here. I'll tell you why, because you got this nickel defender come sprinting in on a nickel blitz, and then you hit Emory right there. Emory throws the little curl immediately, or curl hitch, whatever you want to call it. Receiver stops there. Emory hits him for a gain of about 12 and a first down. And it was a great read because of that nickel running in. If Emory doesn't recognize that and identify that immediately and throw that slant or throw that little hitch route immediately, this could be a quick sack, a busted play. It could be so many things, but Emory made a quick read, and that was one of the veteran decisions, I guess. This on the left, it was a skinny post or a go. The ball was out so quick. It's a little difficult to tell. But yeah, and I mean, sure, he could have hit the curl because the curl here was also open if he just threw it underneath. The flat was open pretty much too. But Emory had to make a quick read with that nickel blitz, and he saw I can get more yards and I have an open space right here. So it was a great read there. Again, he could have hit the swing. It wasn't great coverage by FAU. I'll say that. It wasn't great coverage, wasn't great design. I don't know what went wrong, but it wasn't effective. Emory had 4 options realistically that he could have hit quickly with that swing and then all this on the right side. But he made the right decision by hitting that little hitch over the middle of the field to pick up 12 yards and give the Gators a first down. It was, I think, a much better read than the RPO read that we saw before. And I mean, it's a take what you can get kind of thing at that point. Those are the 2 Emory plays that I wanted to break down. And I wanted to break them down specifically because it showed quick processing, because those were kind of the only 2 times really that Emory showed good processing on the night, or 2 of the only times where he showed good processing on the night, because he had a very rough day as a passer, pretty good as a runner, but very rough day as a passer, and really just shot us in the foot repeatedly. He threw 2 interceptions. I'll get more into that in the third segment, but yeah, they weren't great, but those 2 plays were about as sound as we can get at this point, especially with how vanilla the offense was. We weren't really seeing a ton of crazy things happening, at least schematically. Of course, execution-wise, later on in the game, some crazy things happened, but that was about as good as we can get. And again, I liked showing those 2, particularly because the first one's the read option, or the RPO, which that's something that's going to be a staple of this offense. So showing that you can execute that is big, and it's a lot harder than it looks. And then the second play was him just standard drop back. He also had a play under center where I was just like, okay. I was like, we're seeing some things that we didn't really see a ton of last year, and that we definitely didn't see from Emory Jones last year. But Locked On Gators is now on YouTube, and you'll eventually see that I'm going over here like I'm dying right now. Not the article of clothing sweater, of course, but yeah, sweat like a mother father. It's pretty bad. A few weeks ago when I was in Miami, I was dying. I went to play basketball the other day, and I looked disgusting. It was bad, like sweat through the shirt bad, and it was so clear. And I was like that before I even showed up to the park. So it was pretty rough. And luckily though, I get to use SweatBlock antiperspirant wipes now. SweatBlock is stronger and more effective than most clinical antiperspirants. You simply apply it at night before bedtime, go to bed, and then the next morning you wake up and go about your day without worrying about sweating. And I know it sounds too good to be true because it's a pretty guaranteed product. And I mean, come on, we doubt when people say guaranteed, but just trust me. Use promo code LOCKEDON to get 20% off at sweatblock.com, or get it at Amazon or CVS. Need something to do with your stimulus, tax refund, GameStop, Dogecoin, NIL, any money? Visit rockauto.com right now for all of your car parts needs. The rockauto.com catalog is unique and remarkably easy to navigate. And I know up here we had big storm. I don't know if you heard about it, but it's Ida. She came through last week and demolished a lot of things. Luckily, my car is safe, but a lot of people are going to be needing car parts, a whole bunch of new stuff. And it's at least an easy process using rockauto.com. It's very smooth. It's very smooth, unlike my speech today. Whether it's brake pads, taillights, or you just want to add hydraulics, go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck, whether it's for your classic or daily driver, get everything you need in a few easy clicks delivered directly to your door, right? Locked on in there. How did you hear about us box? So they know exactly who sent you. Now, looking at Anthony Richardson plays, it's gonna be a little bit different. The first one that we're going to look at is a 4th and 4 play, which just by saying that, you might know what it is. The next one, similar layout, different execution, big play. That might also show you what we're talking about. So I'm going to pull up this first one right now. Okay, so again, now I told you this is what we're looking at. It's 4th and 4 here. This is offense, defense. That's how they're laid out. You've got a bubble right here from the 3. The 4, you've got a skinny post or just a normal post, whatever you want to call it. But it's a post there. And then you've got right here, you've got Jamarcus Weston running that, and you've got Hendo running that little post there to clear out the defense. You've got a play fake coming through here. And that's our initial look here. 4th and 4. It's a creative design. It's definitely something that's something that we haven't seen before. So that's a fun one where it's like it was a vanilla day for the offense for the most part, but here we saw something that we didn't really see before, and the concepts look kind of crazy there. I get that, but yeah, we've got that little play fake there, and defense comes in a little bit on it. But what really happens is Anthony Richardson throws it all the way out here to Jamarcus Weston for, I believe it was a 36-yard gain on that chair out. He was wide open. The post cleared things up tremendously because, of course, you look, this inner post clears out that safety. He's completely out of the play because he ran across the field. So completely out of the play at that point. Someone's got to account for the bubble. Then you've got the chair and the post, and defense just gets a little confused there, miscommunication. And that's what we're looking to cause with this offense. Like, that's what we should be trying to do. Cause miscommunications, force miscommunications, and then get big plays off of that. That's a big part of this offense, especially with dual threat quarterbacks. If we can clear things up, make the defense cheat up, and then challenge them over the top, we're going to kill it. I will also say that post looked pretty open to me. Just watching the film, that post looked like it was open. So we had another big play there, and it was just demolished the defense. They had no idea what to do because, again, if I'm playing defense here and I see this concept, I'm lost. Like, it's just like, all right, deuces, like, you're gone. So that's what we're looking at here, and it was a fantastic execution. That's what I love. It was fantastic, design schematically. It was just great, and it was fantastic execution. This play was on, and it was Anthony Richardson's easily best throw of the night. But I will still say it could have been better for a little bit of a bigger game, maybe getting him into the end zone. But that's what we got, and it was a big play on 4th and 4, huge gain. And I'll say it was kind of demoralizing for FAU, and that was one thing that I loved about it. Okay, now this one looks pretty similar, schematic or just formation-wise at first. It looks pretty similar here, and it's a very different play, but also a big gain for us. And a lot of you maybe just by the way I'm speaking about it can tell which play is coming, maybe by looking at who's lined up where. You can tell which play is coming because specifically how the defense is lined up to match the offense. It's a beauty. And I wanted to pull this one up because, one, it was a huge play for us also. And two, it's one of my favorite concepts that you're going to see, especially running the ball. Like, I'm a big supporter of the option offense and just getting the ball out, getting the ball to anybody you can in so many creative ways. And that's what we've got going on here. Like, this is as option as it gets. It's as fun as it gets. You see this a lot with Iowa State. You see the slot running a bubble. You got block, of course, because why not? Then you've got this little read option here. So we're reading the end, and he makes a poor decision, and Anthony Richardson takes the ball. And then what happens? His tight end has nothing shown right now because this is one of my favorite concepts. Again, it is a zone read split. And what that means, if you play Madden, like, you know what inside zone split is. That's something that we see all the time and very rarely call it because it just doesn't work the way that it should. So that's how that is. But if you know what a zone read split is, or zone split in any way, tight end comes across the formation. So now we've got Anthony Richardson with the ball, tight end coming across the formations, Kamara Gamble. So Gamble has to block one dude right there. That's who he has to block. And he blocks it like he slows him down and stops him enough, but it still wasn't a good block. But he did his job well enough where Anthony Richardson got to just go 73 yards up the sideline. And it was beautiful because, again, like I love zone read split, and this is one of the smoothest executions I've seen from the Gators do it. Again, I mentioned Iowa State does it very well. They have Charlie Colder come across the formation. Brees Hall is the running back going across, and then Brock Purdy takes it. And it's just a beautiful thing. Again, like Iowa State's where I first saw it. Iowa State's where I first noticed it and where I fell in love with it. And it's awesome. And I'm glad to see the Gators doing it because it's a very underrated way to get that zone get that option offense running. Sorry, I just can't speak tonight, I guess. It's a very smooth way to get that option offense running because you're playing numbers game at this point. Like if they're lining up here, which is showing that they're probably in man because that's an edge rusher. That's not like a corner that's just coming into the formation. So they're showing that they're probably in man. So you run that little read option and you've got people isolated this way and tight end runs across. He does his job. Anthony Richardson just has to outrun that end, which is very easy for him. We saw he's very fast. So Emory Gamble makes that block and Anthony Richardson takes it to the house. So that's why I wanted to bring up those two plays for Anthony Richardson because they're both big plays. And I realized that it might be a little unfair to show two big plays for Anthony Richardson and none for Emory Jones. But frankly, Emory didn't really have huge plays there. Anthony Richardson did, and one of them was just beautifully executed. Again, like I've said, like I love the zone read split. So I love seeing that work and seeing that happen. And I like look at myself in this and I'm like, oh God, I hate my lighting today. Hopefully tomorrow or the day after I'll have my new set in and I'll be able to get more consistent lighting. But this is where we're rolling with today. Just hopefully the podcast version is what most people are listening to. But of course, they've got to watch it to see the drawing. So that's fun stuff. Week 1 is over, and I hope you all made some money. I know I didn't because I stupidly bet on Florida covering, the teams hitting the over, and Florida hitting their team over. But hey, I won some money with the over-under for longest touchdown scored and consecutive scores by one team. Thanks, Florida. BetOnline is how I did it. It's how I've done it for years. It's how I will continue to do it. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your sports action. BetOnline even covers award shows, TV shows, and reality TV with real-time updated odds and props on almost anything you can imagine. It is the best way to place your bets, and it's 100% free to sign up. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 100% welcome bonus. Now, almost muscle memoried it on your first deposit. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. Make sure to use promo code LOCKEDON for your 100% welcome bonus on your first deposit and make some money out here because, I mean, hopefully Florida won't screw you over this time. And now we're going to break down the quarterback battle a little bit. I don't want to get too decisive about it, I guess, because I know a lot of people this week with all quarterbacks across all of college football were like, oh, this guy sucks. This guy's amazing. He's going to be whatever. Let's not overreact a little bit. Obviously, I've been team Emory Jones for the whole offseason since I've taken over pretty much. I've been very excited for Emory Jones. Obviously, Anthony Richardson outperformed Emory Jones. That's just that, like, you can't debate that. That's just fact. But both were pretty pedestrian passers. I get the excitement of Anthony Richardson with the runs that he made, working with his legs, the hurdle, all stuff like that. Fantastic, exciting stuff. However, it's still not great football there because while he could run the ball exceptionally, he struggled as a passer as well. And I get that people are like, but he didn't really get the chance to throw the ball. He had a few, and what we saw was not effective. And I mean, I know that I'll get to my next point in a little while. Anthony Richardson was, of course, more consistent than the two. And I think where we're at the most difficult spot for Coach Mullen and the rest of this Gator staff to make this decision is that the differences or the issues are pretty different. Both of them have big issues, but they're different issues because Emory Jones, his main issue was his decision-making Again, I spoke about it yesterday. I could speak about it again right now. I didn't break it down because I couldn't get a great angle of it, and we've seen it 100 times. So I was like, why break down something they've already seen a million times? But his decision making is specifically on the high-low read on the left side of the field. He threw a pick in the end zone trying to hit the high read when he should have gone for the low read. So the decision making was a big issue for Emory Jones there, and it was the most questionable thing. I know that I pointed out 2 plays that praised his decision making, because they were 2 of the only plays that praised his decision making that I could have made. And I wanted to point out he wasn't useless as a decision maker, because I knew in this point I'd be talking about his decision making. So I wanted to show he wasn't completely useless, but it was his biggest issue and where he was most inconsistent throughout the game. But again, not completely useless. He made plays where he could. He had some great plays where he scrambled and picked up extra yardage, hidden yardage. So he made great plays there. But as a passer, decision-making, bit of an issue for him. And it was disappointing to see from someone who we kind of going into this, we were like, yeah, he hasn't had a ton of game experience, but he's still our veteran quarterback. He's been in the system. He's been doing this. He's been working with Dan Mullen. But, I mean, he just didn't live up to expectations in his first start. But, again, it was his first start, so I'm not gonna kill the kid for it. Anthony Richardson's big issue was his inability to throw an accurate football consistently, because yes, he had that beauty to Jamarcus Weston for 36 yards. That was great, but again, could have been closer. Could have been better. Could have been a better ball. And for those saying that Copeland or Shorter would have run under it, for I believe it was Nicholas in the YouTube comments saying that better receivers could have run under it, I believe that even further proves my point of saying that it was an inaccurate ball and it was overthrown, because it shouldn't have to be, better guys could have chased it down. It should be, how fast the receivers are on the field, and you could put the ball in a spot for them to be successful. If you put a ball in a spot where it's like, we need better receivers that can chase that down, it's a bad ball. Part of being a quarterback is knowing how fast your guys are and getting the ball to them in a timely manner and executing there. So yeah, I stand by my point that I think it was a bad ball. It was overthrown. And that was his biggest issue, is that he did that a few times, even on the last drive. So I have a few issues with that. I think it was questionable accuracy, not decision-making, but it was rough. And I don't know who Dan Mullen is going to roll with long-term. I'm fairly confident this week we're going to see both quarterbacks play a pretty similar amount of time and a pretty similar amount of snaps, and let them open up the playbook a little bit more, just to see who's going to be your leader, who can get things rocking for this offense. I don't care who it is that starts. Like, I understand that I've been very openly pro-Emory. I haven't been anti-Anthony. I've been pro-Emory. I think that's an important distinguishment, because I know that there are some people that are like, no Emory, go Anthony, no Anthony, go Emory. Just, I trust both, but I was trusting Emory more before, but I don't care who starts. I want whoever to start. Whoever's going to win games for us, whoever's going to lead this team to victory more often, that's who should be the starting quarterback for the Florida Gators. So that's why I'm not super upset either way. I'm invested, obviously, but I'm not going to be upset as long as the right decision is made. Week 1, it wasn't, but it was corrected, or not even corrected. It was saved by playing lesser competition. The same thing could happen this week, but we've got to clean it up, because we've got this week South Florida. Next week is Alabama. Like, we've got to clean things up. We've got to get a pass attack going, because if you watch the Miami game, Alabama was running out there like animals, demolishing Miami. And I'm not saying that we're Miami, because I've been saying Miami being one spot below us in the rankings was disgusting and disrespectful. They're not a good football team. It's like LSU. They're not a good team. But hey, I mean, Bama's just killing people. Look at Clemson, Georgia, Ohio State, and Oklahoma. Like, all teams ranked above us. All teams played poorly. At this point, Bama's the only team that had a great week 1, which is worrisome. That is very worrisome. But that about does it for today's episode of Locked On Gators. Join me tomorrow as we'll tie up any loose ends with Florida Atlantic, and we'll start looking towards the South Florida game. Once again, my name is Brandon Olsen. You can find me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. You can find all of my written work with whole9sports.com. That is WHOLENINE Sports. Be sure to check out Locked On Fantasy Football, hosted by Vinny Iyer, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. And don't worry, this is my second to last time doing this. I've got one more fantasy draft tomorrow, and I promise I'm going to keep bringing this up as long as I've got fantasy drafts. I'm going to try to not screw them over. I'm going to listen to Vinny's suggestions. Betting on the Gators doesn't have to be a guessing game if you listen to the new Locked On Bets podcast hosted by your boy Q and handicapping expert Lee Sterling. Get daily picks, blowout specials, wrong team favorite picks, and Lee Sterling's lock of the day. Follow Locked On Bets on wherever you listen to podcasts, brought to you by BetOnline.ag. Don't miss out. Seriously, make yourself some money.